All right, hello and welcome to your first video for Math 6. Get excited, we're starting the year out super great. So my name is Mrs. Mulchaney and I will serve as your narrator for most of the school year. First thing I want to do is we're going to set up your notebook. So you need to grab your notebook for Math 6 and you can see I have my notebook digitally on the screen and we're going to set it up together. So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to open your notebook to the first page. And inside that first page, you're going to copy exactly what I have written on mine. If I have a space, you have a space. If I have mine numbered, you have yours numbered. Our first unit of study is going to be ratios, where we're going to cover 6.1 and 6.2. So make sure you have all of that copied. If you need to pause, go ahead and pause because I'm going to go super quick through the setup of your binder, or I'm sorry, of your notebook. And I want to make sure that you have everything that you need. So once you have this copied, go ahead, turn the page. Now you can see in your notebook that you're going to have a spiral down the middle, and that's what the little squiggly line down the middle means. Do not write on these two pages. We're going to skip the one on the back of the cover page. We're going to skip the next page. And then on the following, we're going to turn again. We're going to skip the one on the left, and on the one on the right, I want you to write Unit 1 ratios. And if you want to decorate this page or get creative with it, you're welcome to. You can write little tricks to help you remember things. If you want to write the different ways to do a ratio, you can do that. As we learn things, you can add quick tricks to this page or just draw some pictures, whatever you want to do. If you don't want to decorate it at all, then don't decorate it at all. The only thing that I would like for you to do is I want you to turn down the top corner. So you're just going to fold it in so that when you're looking in your notebook, you can find where Unit 1 starts. All right, so you're going to leave the left page blank, and I'll draw you a little picture right here. So if the spiral was here, we're going to leave this one blank, and you're going to start all these notes right here on that right-hand side. Okay, so right beside where you're writing, you should have a blank page on the left. Now, I'm going to talk quick because I don't want to take too much of your time. But remember, you can slow me down using those tools that we talked about in class, or you can pause me so you can copy everything in, and then you can listen to me talk. So this is one of those moments. I have quite a few things written on my page. What I recommend you do, pause me really quick, write everything down that I have. Remember, if I have a space, you have a space. If I have a star, you have a star. Anything I write on my page, you are copying onto yours. Take a minute, copy down what I have, and when you're ready, unpause and I'll talk about it. All right, so today we're talking about simplifying fractions. And for this entire unit, you're welcome to use a multiplication chart. So we do have a multiplication chart posted in Schoology for you. Let's talk about what is a fraction. A fraction is a comparison of two numbers using a division bar. Now, I drew you a little fraction with little boxes because it doesn't really matter what's in the numerator or the denominator right now. We're just looking at the comparison of two things. Now, like I said, this is the numerator, which is the top number. And the bottom number is the denominator. And the thing in the middle is actually division. And if you looked at a fraction, it actually kind of looks like the division sign. Huh. Didn't think you saw that there before, did you? All right, so there's a division bar in the middle. So we have a numerator divided by the denominator. Okay, so fractions can be simplified. That means they can show the same relationship using smaller numbers. All right, and let's go back to elementary school and let's draw some pictures. So we have 2/4. And back in elementary school, and I'd like for you to draw this as well, you would have drawn a bar and you would have said, okay, I need to cut that bar into 4 pieces because the denominator, or the bottom number, is 4. Okay, perfect. Now I want you to get out a colored pencil. And with that colored pencil, we're going to represent 2 of those fourths. So we need to color in 2 of those pieces. Okay, good enough. Now let's think, if we look at that picture, is there a different fraction with smaller numbers that we could use to represent that? And there is. If we look at this picture, I have 2 here that are shaded, and then I have 2 that are not shaded. Okay, well, that would be like one section is shaded versus the two sections that are total there. So I could redraw this in a different fraction bar. There's now two pieces instead of four. And instead of shading two pieces, I could just shade one, and it looks like the exact same fraction from above. And a fancy word to describe what that means is equivalent or equal. They're equal to each other. Now, mathematically, how is that true? Well, if we look at the fraction 2/4, we know that both 2 and 4 can both divide by 2. And if you don't believe me, look on your multiplication chart. If you look across the 2 row, both the number 2 and the number 4 are both in that 2 row. So I can divide them both by 2. And if I do that, I end up with a 1 in the numerator, and 4 divided by 2 will give me a 2 in the denominator. So 2/4 is equivalent to 1/2. Now, I've run out of space on my page, but I know that you still have some space at the bottom of yours. So I'm going to turn my page just so I have some more working room. You are going to stay on the same page that you're on in your notebook. Okay, so let's look at another example. Let's look at 3/9. Now, I know sometimes when you don't get ones that are even, they're difficult to draw. And I'm going to tell you a trick. I want 9 spaces, so I'm going to draw only 8 lines. So let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And if it's not perfect, it's okay. If you need to add an extra box on the end, that's fine too. All right, so now we need to represent our 3/9. So let's shade in 3 of those pieces. Okay, so now looking at that picture, we need to figure out, is there an equivalent fraction to 3/9 that we could draw? Well, if we start looking at these pieces, I have 3 here that are shaded. Okay, and if I start looking in groups of 3, I have 2 more groups that are not shaded. Okay, so I have 1 group out of 3 groups that are shaded. Okay, there's my equivalent fraction. We can draw that. We're going to cut our bar into thirds because the denominator is 3, and we're going to color one of them. And you can now see that they are indeed equivalent or equal to each other. Now let's talk about why it is true mathematically. So if I still have the fraction 3/9, if I look at the number 3 and at the number 9, the only thing that could simplify both 3 and 9 would be 3. And if you don't believe me, look at the 3 row on your multiplication chart. 3 and 9 are both in the 3 row. That means they both divide by 3. So I get 1, and then 9 divided by 3 is 1/3. So there's a simple picture representation of why simplifying fractions work the way they do. So let's talk about some rules for how to simplify fractions. And you are going to have to turn your page in your notebook because I think you're about running out of space right now. So you should be on the back of that simplifying fractions page. So I want you to pause and I want you to write down these rules, and then we're going to talk about them in a minute as soon as you're done writing. Okay, so if we talk about these rules, I want you to ask yourself these questions when you're looking at a fraction. So, first question is it even? Are the numbers even numbers? And some examples of even numbers would be like 2, 8, and 16. If they are even, you're going to divide by 2. So if they're even, you're going to divide by 2. Or 4. 4 is the big brother to 2 and will simplify numbers a lot quicker than 2 will. And we'll talk about an example of that. If they end in 5 or 0, so an example of that would be like 15 or 20 or 35. They all end in 5 or 0. You would divide by 5. If they end in 0, that would be numbers like 10, 20, or even 100. that means I can divide by 10. If it's a double number, like 11, 33, or 55, those are what we call double numbers, and you'll divide by 11. And then the last one, and this is really tricky to see, and that's why I call this number the evil 3, because 3 is really hard to see sometimes. And I always say if you've tried everything, at least try 3 to simplify it. And that one is tricky because if I look at the number 27, it says the sum of the digits divides by 3. So what that means is if I take 2 plus 7, which is 9, does 9 divide by 3? And the answer is yes. So that means that 27 can then divide by 3 and it will work. So that's the rule for dividing by 3. Now, if you don't want to add them together, at least give 3 a try. Look across the 3 row on your multiplication chart or think of the factors in your head and say, hey, does either of these numbers divide by 3? And we'll check it out. You still have room on your page, but I have to turn because I've run out of space. So down below those simplifying rules, I have 2 examples for you to do. Let's talk about example number 1. So I want you to go down your rules, and I'm going to write it here so you can see it because it's 18 over 21. I want you to ask yourself, is it even? Well, no, they're not even. Do they end in 5 or 0? Nope. 18 and 21 don't end by 5 or 0. They don't end in 0. They're not doubles. The sum of the digits divides by 3. Okay, so let's look at the sum of the digits. If I do 1 plus 8, that gives me 9. And if I do 2 plus 1, that gives me 3. Okay. Both 9 and 3 divide by 3. So what that means is I can divide both the numerator and the denominator by 3 and simplify that fraction, and it'll work out. It'll simplify down to 6/7. Okay, that's why I said 3 is a little bit hard to see. Now, let's talk about number 2 example. 4 and 16. First question is, are they even? Yeah, 4 and 16 are even. And I'm going to try my big brother even number, which is 4 first. If I look across the 4 on the multiplication chart, they're both going to be on there. So I can divide this one by 4, top and bottom, numerator, denominator. 4 divided by 4 is 1, 16 divided by 4 is 4, and I get a simplified fraction of 1/4. Now what if I didn't see big brother 4? All right. What if I only know that it's even, so I divide it by 2? If I divide by 2, numerator, denominator, I get 2 over 8. But I need to ask myself the question, can I simplify that fraction again? And that answer is yes, they're both even. So that means I can divide them both by 2. Again. Yes, I know, again. 2 divided by 2 is 1, 8 divided by 2 is 4. And I end up with the same answer. All right, last thing I want you to do is I want you to do a U-try. You have 2 problems to try, and I challenge you to do them without watching the answers. There's your first one, and here is your second one. I want you to pause the video, and I want you to see if you can simplify both of those fractions all by yourself. All right, so let's chat about these. So 3/12. Go down your rules. Are they even? Nope. End in 5 or 0? Nope. End in 0? Nope. Double number? Nope. Sum of the digits divides by 3. Well, 3 divides by 3, so that would work. 1 plus 2 is 3, so that one will work. So this one you should have divided by 3 in the numerator and denominator, and you get 1/4 as your solution there. Last one, number 2. Is it even? Nope. End in 5 or 0? Ding, ding, ding. Yes, it does. Divide by 5. And I'm left with 1/2. You just survived simplifying fractions.